What's up, guys? Before we get into today's review, don't forget that the first piece of Gearist gear ever is now on sale. This hat right here. This hat you can buy for the bargain basement price of $25. It is a technical trucker ready to get your sweat on it. Go buy it. And now here is our review. What's up, everyone? Brandon here from Gearist. Today we're going to be taking a look at the very much anticipated, and I know you guys are looking forward to it. This is the all-new Clayton from Hoka One One. If you're familiar at all with Hoka One One, then you know a large part of their deal, their story, is all about cushion. From the inception of this shoe, a large part of what was going on was their desire to make almost this kind of wheel underfoot, a very efficient thing where you have this meta rocker that you probably know about if you know about Hoka, basically creating this rolling action underfoot and to provide a large amount of material cushioning under which to make this gait possible. With all that in mind and getting away from the preconceived notions of having this big bulky shoe or something that's a lot of weight underneath your foot and coming up with a shoe that would fit into that place of being a fast trainer and or a racer is something that Hoka was really very focused on. So with part of their new Pro 2 Light line, which also includes another legit racing flat, which we hopefully will get to soon, the Clayton is right in there, fitting the bill of being a super fast, super lightweight shoe and really kind of steering people in the direction that they might not expect from Hoka. So let's start talking about it. Most of the time when we talk about the outsole of a shoe, where it is so inextricably linked to the midsole, we tend to combine the two. However, in this, they are very, extremely similar, but they are separate enough. There's a very clear delineation that we're going to be able to talk about them separately. So first, let's talk about the outsole. The outsole of this guy, as you can see right here, looks like a bunch of square pods. Now, these pods contain no rubber. There's no rubber on the bottom of the shoe that is specifically rubber. This is actually made of Hoka's R-Mat material, which, if you know about it, is not unlike Skechers Resilite material. This is going to give it a lot of lightweight and also make it fairly durable for being a what feels like exposed EVA. With about 40 miles on it, there's really not much wear on this guy, so it's pretty impressive. With those 40 miles, I do see wear in places where I might expect it, even in a rubber-soled shoe. I see it right here in the lateral midfoot, which is pretty much where I land almost all the time, and then right up here under the ball of the foot, on the first metatarsal, where my foot settles out and I get really into the load phase of the gait. Those are the two places where I really see wear. I, generally speaking, think that I have a pretty clean gait. Now, if you're someone who has a more aggressive gait where you're sliding into the ground more or toeing off more, or basically having a lot more abrasive interaction with the ground, I can see this potentially wearing down a little more quickly for you than you might see in a shoe that's got like a carbon rubber compounder underneath or something like that. But at the same time, keep in mind that this is going to save a lot of weight by not having that rubber there, so it's a trade-off. Moving into the midsole of this guy, experienced Hoka One One runners might notice that there, for something that we would classify maybe as a fast trainer or a racer, there's a lot of midsole material in this guy. In some places, more than you might see in other models of Hoka One One shoes. That is thanks to the brand's oversized active foot frame, which we can see here. If we look, here's the upper, okay, the upper ends, and then look just how wide the midsole and the outsole are below that. There's a lot of material about that, and the reason that that is put in there is so that this perception that you're high off the ground isn't as high as you might think, but it's so that you feel this stability, and this goes a long way. I mean, you really feel very solid on the ground. It's not a stability shoe. However, I could easily see somebody that has some light pronation that does want a little bit of stability control being perfectly comfortable in this shoe because of that oversized active foot frame underfoot. And just to give you an idea of where the foot actually sits in this material here is all up and over the upper. So the foot, I don't know if you're going to be able to see, but the foot actually sits right about here. So the foot is actually sitting lower into this. This is material that is surrounding the foot. It's keeping the foot in a nice stable way, both in terms of balance, but also in terms of if you're kind of going around a corner or something like that, you're going to feel a nice amount of cradling that happens in the foot there. The midsole material in this guy is dual density, and that density line roughly follows this gradient that you can see right there. What they've got is a firmer material up here, firmer foam in the forefoot, and then a little bit softer material back here in the rear foot for those of you that might still land on the heel. For a shoe that's got so much material in its midsole, you might think it might sacrifice the flexibility a little bit. However, check this out. I mean, it's really quite bendy, and this is something that we'll touch on a little bit more in the ride section, but just know that you're not losing that, and with that additional material right there, it's got a good deal of pop that comes back to the foot. But what's the drop of this guy right here? It's a number that a lot of people want to know these days, and there are a few different iterations of the measurements of this shoe floating around out there. That drop is based off of a 24mm stack in the heel and a 20mm stack in the forefoot, which again is not as high as you might think that it is, because again the foot sits down in that midsole a little bit. That makes it a 4mm net drop. The upper of the Clayton is my favorite of any Hoka that I've seen thus far. It is made from a single piece of mesh. The only seams that you're going to see are right there where the collar transitions into the rest of the mesh up here, but it's actually very comfortable. You don't notice those at all, and those are pretty standard. Now the support structure, as you may be able to see there, is made up of bonded overlays that are kind of laid out in a grid pattern all across the upper. Then in the rear, this right here, the rear of the foot is made basically out of a bonded big ass Hoka brand stamp right there, keeping things locked down in the heel. Probably my favorite aspect of this upper is just how thin it is, how slimmed down it is, and it saves a lot of weight, but it also makes for a pretty custom fit to the foot. The collar right around here has not a whole lot of foam at all, and in fact it's kind of a double density. They've got a little bit more right back here at the Achilles insert. The tongue is excellently thin. It's really nice. There is foam, and it's dense enough to keep the laces from really pressing down on the foot if you decide to hammer down on those laces a lot. And enhancing that is the fact that the laces themselves have a little bit of stretch. This is something that seems to be a trend these days, with people putting in laces that have that little bit of give to them, which kind of forms double duty, and the most important one of those duties is to not allow people to hammer down so hard that they're cutting off circulation to their foot. Finally, the back of the shoe, the heel counter is completely flexible. I mean, there's no structure to it really at all, aside from whatever this back brand stamp support might make up. But that, again, is where that support is going to come in. It externally forms the shape of the heel cup, coupled with this right here, this foam of the midsole that comes up and over that area. Now here's where I had a bit of a problem, and if I'm being honest, I don't really know if this little critique belongs in the upper section or the midsole section up above, but it is something that I should point out because it is a problem that I had in the exact same problem, one of the exact same places that I had in the Hoka One One Speed Goat. And that issue is right there. I don't know what's going on, but basically I took the shoe out on a run, and this only happened on one of my runs, not on all of them. And on that one run, it was a 9-mile run with no turns, like no turns. It was a straight east-west road. It went gently uphill for those 9 miles, or excuse me, for 4.5 miles, and then back down the same way on the way back. And right about 3 miles-ish in, I think, I started to feel a little bit of warmth right in that area, just behind the ball of the foot on the side of the foot there. The reason I can't really be specific as to whether this is an upper thing or a midsole thing is because what it feels like to me, if I'm just running and not looking at it, it feels as though this material is buckling down here and kind of folding in on that spot of my foot. However, I look down at it and that is not at all what's happening. So what kind of makes sense to me is that a little bit of this material right here, which comes up and over the midsole, from the midsole rather up into the upper, that feels like it could be kind of rubbing up this way. In either instance, it's kind of frustrating to me because I like the way this shoe handles a lot, and I'm just very curious. So now that we've got the initial review out of the way, I'm going to be doing a little bit of shoe surgery inside to figure out if I can't get rid of that feeling in that area. Again, I can't figure out where it's coming from to be very specific, whether it's the upper or the midsole, but it is right there. It is a blister that formed, but only on one run, so I really honestly don't know if it's a one-off or what have you. And also, I should mention, it was not the socks at all, so I'm just confused, I'm hurt. But in any event, it really doesn't affect my overall impression of the shoe. Now let's talk about the fit, and the fit of this guy is the best fitting Hoka that I have used so far. Now, the Hokas that I have used have been the Clifton 2 and the Speed Goat. The Speed Goat did not work for me at all. The Clifton 2 was a lot better fit, but this guy right here fits the best out of all three of those. First, the sizing feels spot on to me. My size 11s are right where I'd expect them to be. Again, I don't know that I could go up a half size to maybe maybe accommodate for that little rub right there. I don't think it would be a good thing because then it'd be swimmy for me. But the sizing in general is right where it should be, and if you've been in other Hokas, it should be right there for you as well. The heel of this shoe feels just awesome. I love that super flexible heel counter because I feel like it's still supported, but it saves some weight, and I don't feel like there's a ton of foam pushing on me. So that's really, really great. Moving into the midfoot right here, I really feel like the midfoot of this is nicely dialed. I think that part of that is the support structure, and certainly part of it is a little bit of that stretchy lace area and the slim down tongue. All these things kind of combine into a really dialed in midfoot, which again is why it's so frustrating that I got that little rub spot right there on that run. So I'm still torn. Moving into the forefoot, while it's not super open, it's actually quite a good size for this shoe. I really enjoyed it. It allows your foot to kind of do its thing. There could, as with all shoes, I think pretty much, there could be a little bit more lateral room right here in the toe box area, but in general, it's very comfortable. I should also mention there's no stretch in this area, so when your foot splays, it splays to the constraints of the upper right there. So it's not going to have any give. There is a little bit of give, but only over where the laces go, and that's thanks to the stretch in the laces. Now let's talk about the ride, and the first thing straight out of the box that jumped out to me about this shoe right here, the Hoka One One Clayton, is the weight. For as much shoe as meets the eye, and you take it out and you're like, holy crap, that's a lot of shoe. But it's really not. You know, again, the foot sits down in the midsole and what have you, but straight out of the box in your hand, this in a size 11 comes in at 8.6 ounces, which for men's size 11 is really well weighted. I mean, it's a great weight, and men's size 9, just to give you a little bit of perspective, comes in at 7.3 ounces. Now the actual ride of the Clayton is something very interesting to me relative to the Hoka One One Speed Goat, which might sound silly, but let me explain. First, this shoe, the Clayton, is a nicely firm shoe that likes to go fast, even on longer tempo efforts. And the flexibility of the shoe, as I mentioned earlier, isn't so much. It's not so flexible that it deadens the amount of pop that you get out of it, which is really nice. Now here's where my curiosity between this and the Speed Goat comes in. In the Speed Goat, while that did have serious fit issues and had some lateral stability issues, especially in the rear foot and things like that, I had so much fun in that shoe just kind of bounding across trails and things like that. And there's a different feel from the midsole of that to the midsole of this. While this is a poppy and responsive midsole, it doesn't feel as bouncy and as fun as that was. And I don't know what that material is. I don't know what the material difference is. And maybe it was simply that I was on a trail. That could easily be the case. In any event, I think that that material put into this midsole, or changing this up to meet that kind of bounciness, whatever happened there, would make this so much fun. And it would actually be something closer and akin to that bounce and feel and resilience of something like the New Balance Zante. To date, this is by far my favorite Hoka One One shoe that I have tried. I've really, really enjoyed running in it, apart from that little blister incident. I do have to give it a knock though for its price. This thing comes at $150, which is too expensive in my opinion. For a lightweight trainer, fast trainer, racer like this, I think it really should be below 120. And if you've got it, go for it. You can easily find it on sale. And by the way, speaking of sale, definitely check the buy links down below, because we probably have found it for a little bit lower if it's on sale yet. And otherwise, there are ways to just kind of wait around for this to come out, and those buy links down in the description will still work for you guys. Regardless of its price tag, I think that this is an excellent debut by Hoka. They've done a great job with the Clayton. I'm excited to see the evolution of this shoe and maybe work out that midfoot, midsole, upper thing for my foot. And I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say. So if you've tried it, definitely let us know what's up down in the comments below. Now guys, before we get into the question of the day, please, please, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. You can do that by clicking this button right here, or like and favorite this video. That would mean a lot to us and help us. We're about to hit 1 million YouTube views. Can you believe it? That is insane to me. I'm so very excited. So here is our question of the day for you. What type of running shoe do you like to do your speed work or races in? Do you like something as cushioned as a Hoka, or do you reach for something that's got a little bit less or even minimal? Let us know down in the comments section below. Guys, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us today. If you've got any questions at all, don't hesitate to email info@gearist.com or let us know down in those comments down there. As always, please follow us on all of our social media outlets, which you can see here on my right, your left, including subscribing to our YouTube channel, which makes a lot of difference. Please, please, please subscribe to our channel and share our channel with your friends. You can just share youtube.com/thegearist or youtube.com/gearist. It all goes to the same place. Once again, guys, visit gearist.com and let us know what's up. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.